Welcome to the Spark Companies podcast, your go-to resource for all things talent acquisition and career development. At Spark Companies, we're not just a talent acquisition agency. We're champions of potential, dedicated to connecting talented individuals with their dream careers and helping businesses thrive through exceptional talent. Join me as we explore the dynamic landscape of recruitment, uncovering insights, strategies, and success stories that empower both employers and job seekers alike. Whether you're a seasoned recruiter, passionate job seeker, or a business leader looking to elevate your team, this podcast is for you. Each episode, we'll dive into topics ranging from recruitment trends and best practices to personal and professional development tips. Our goal? To ignite sparks of inspiration, foster growth, and ultimately create opportunities that transform lives. So whether you're tuning in from the corner office or the job search trenches, get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered. This is the Spark Companies podcast, where every conversation sparks opportunity. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is EJ, and I am super excited today to have you on the Spark Companies podcast with two great guys here. Aaron Opalewski, the CEO of Spark Companies, and then I want to introduce to each of you. Actually, you know what, Aaron? I'm going to let you introduce one of your greatest friends and brothers over here. Go ahead.
Okay, my first intro.
Yeah.
So this is Fletcher Kundtz, our CRO. Fletcher and I have worked together for coming up on 13 years, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
14 years?
It's going on 14.
I don't even know what we're at.
It'll be
this
14
point.
this year, yeah.
Wow.
A long time, over a decade. It's been a wild ride. There's a lot we could talk about. I'm
That's
sure we'll get
understandable.
into some of it
Yeah,
today.
definitely.
But yeah, one of my best friends, someone that is involved in multiple, businesses with us now within the portfolio companies, and someone that I admire, love, and it's fun to do this with every day, even though not everything we do within the day is fun. So,
when Aaron and I, for all of you who are listening, we're talking about, okay, we want to start bringing on some guests. Aaron immediately went to Fletcher. And Fletcher, I'll just tell you, as one of the newer guys on the team here within Spark Companies, Aaron certainly thinks the world of you. He shared those battle stories. And today, as we talk, we're going to go through and talk about the three major characteristics that you guys would identify makes someone successful within the recruiting and staffing industry. And, I'm going to be a listener primarily in this. I'll host as well. But Aaron, as you were talking through this episode, the two of us together and thinking about Fletcher being on it, what were some of the things that came to mind for you? I know you want to talk about habits, skills. Talk through that a little bit.
I'll let him go through what he thinks the top three are, because we're probably almost exactly aligned.
Yeah.
We generally are, we have different points of view on stuff, but arrive at similar conclusions a lot of the time. But what I'll say about it, why he's the perfect person to talk to about this, and there's other people that are great in recruiting and what we do and on the team, but he's got the context behind this, over that period of time, and leads by example on this still. It was earlier this week that, we're out there and Fletcher's running the recruiter training for the entire team. So it's the perfect person to kind of go through this and get the characteristics as he sees them, the top three.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, thanks for having me, guys. This is pretty awesome. It shows you how far we've come over the years, man.
Yeah, we were talking about the podcast that we did on the one we did before that was not quite as we bootstrapped it, but our sound was messed up, and I think we're picking up the construction on the house being built right next to us.
Oh yeah.
Man, we don't have any problems getting out there and trying stuff.
I think that's a key to it. We're still learning, obviously, with this. Fletcher, you've obviously been successful in this industry, and there are some of those habits, some of those skills, some of the key things that you've thought of. Share us a little bit of that. Aaron and I will poke in as you're kind of going after it.
I think it's hard to picking three. Dumbing it all down, it comes down to character. I think that's something that when you encompass like what's character, honesty, loyalty, integrity, self-sacrifice, accountability, those are the traits, and we can kind of dive into each one of those that I look at. If somebody is strong in those areas, they're going to do well in this industry. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Talk a little bit more on those. So, integrity in recruiting. Why is it so important? What makes that lead to being a successful recruiter?
So integrity, how I interpret that is your actions are in alignment with what you say. So in our world, we are constantly faced with adversity. We have to have direct communication. If we say we're going to hit delivery commitments, provide positive feedback, negative feedback, whatever the case may be, we have to do what we say we're going to do. And then even as you move up in this industry into leadership or when you're client facing, that intensifies. So if you say one thing and you're doing another, your credibility is going to be out the window immediately. So speaking on that section of it, that is critical.
Yeah. And Aaron, I think that as we in past episodes have talked about core values, we've talked about why Spark is different, what sets us apart. I know you've talked about integrity before. What else would you add to that?
Well, I think you just get put in situations every single day where a lot of things within agency side recruiting, it's easy to get caught in the parts of it that are like, go, 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 get this done. Like Fletcher was kind of saying, where it's like, reach this commitment within the day. And there's a lot of pushes on getting things done in quick timelines. And that's good, but it puts you in a situation every day where you could cut corners, but you shouldn't. Yeah. And so when I look at integrity and character and like what he's saying there, it's no one's perfect on that, right? And there's a learning curve. And as we've grown, like it's our job as leaders to help people on this learning curve faster. And the first way we do that is just leading by example on it ourselves. But like you're just put into situations every day where you got to try and move things aggressively, but for the right reasons, So I do want to do those things, but I never want to, try and fit someone into a spot that's not best for them or not best for the client. And at the same time, I want to do things with urgency and move, and it comes back to, something we just talked about, like, do you have enough in your pipelines? If you are trying to bend on something, I look at it, if it's not, I don't think a lot of people have like bad intentions with this stuff. So it's like, hey, like getting you to understand this is why it's so important that your pipeline's in the right place, because it helps you when your pipeline's in the right place, it helps you make better decisions and not put yourself in a position where you're stretching more.
Yeah. In Fletcher, as you guys have, together grown these sets of companies, different aspects, obviously, Aaron leading, but I think it's appropriate to say Fletcher's kind of like the right-hand man in a lot of ways. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the leader.
Yeah. I love that.
I mean, day to day at this point, like he is continuing to step up and lead the team to more and more.
Yeah. In Fletcher, I love what Aaron just said. There's two things that stand out to me, just because behind the scenes I get to spend a lot of time with Aaron filming different things, hearing his heart behind the companies and things like that. Aaron, a couple of weeks ago, you I don't know if we even published it yet, but you put out this post, like, when people hear the word recruiter, they initially have this like gross feeling. And I want to take that and I want to build that together with integrity. And what you just said to me, honestly, Aaron, it put it all together when you talked about pipeline. And Fletcher, I'd love your thought on the aspect of what Aaron just said, of having integrity and filling the pipeline, because when you have the pipeline of people with options, then you don't have to feel like you're lacking the integrity there. How have you seen that play out just in the recruiting and staffing world?
I mean, it's interesting because, like you alluded to, or if Aaron mentioned before, like, maybe people that aren't as familiar with the staffing industry, if they hear the word recruiter, it's if they get the E, whatever. For me personally, because I've been doing this at a high level for so many years, if I see anybody who has progressed and not jumped around on jobs, but if they've progressed in a recruiting capacity for any sort of period of time, I immediately think that person's a top performer because I know how hard this industry is.
Yeah.
So right from that standpoint, but that's from inside looking out. So, but other companies, they don't know what goes in the day to day. The staffing world is a lot different than the corporate recruiting world.
Okay.
So anybody that's progressed with, within that on the staffing side, I mean, Aaron does an excellent job at this. He's constantly engaging with other top performers in other industries that we maybe aren't in. One thing that's different about us is we communicate with our, other companies in our space. We're not, oh, these are our clients, we want to network within that group. Things change, things shift, and we keep the door open for people. So, I mean, there's been multiple scenarios where organizations have closed or people have transitioned, stepped out of the industry for a while. We keep engagement with them, and then fast forward down the road, a few of them are working with us, and some of them are running other businesses.
That's awesome. And I think that that speaks to the continued growth too that Spark has had over the years. Okay, so we got integrity. What else makes up a world-class, a successful recruiter staffer out there?
Let's see. I mean, self-sacrifice is a big one for me. I mean, that goes into personal life, professional. I think anybody who wants to excel in anything, they have to sacrifice. For us, a lot in the beginning stages, it's your time. I was just talking about this with our recruiters and how precious their time is. In our world, working on openings that are fully qualified, it's critical because we want to make sure we're converting, and that immediately deems success for our recruiters. And if they're constantly getting hit with adversity, stuff's not going through, then there's causes frustrations in the back end. So I was just preaching about how selfish I want them to be with their time. Make sure that they understand what they're doing, what they're working on, because they're going to invest a ton of their time. We ask a lot of our team. We reward very well also, but there's a huge investment up front, and usually they're going to put in more time in the beginning to learn and grow, and then that changes as you move along in your career. But being selfish with your time is huge. So I think that's a big one.
Do you guys think that it's proper time management? Is it proper energy management within that? What am I missing within there?
I mean, you can get better at this stuff, sure. I think it's the brute force of get your reps in. Yeah. And, the more time someone puts in early in your recruiting career, you have no pipelines, right? So you're building your pipelines, you're getting reps in, and you're just getting, like, recruiter A is working 40 hours a week and getting in 30 reps a day, and recruiter B's working more than 40 hours. I don't know what the exact time is, but let's just say they're getting in 60 reps a day. Well, by the time I get to the end of the week, I've doubled up the other recruiter. So then stack that up over a year. I look at that recruiter that put in that extra amount of time and reps. They got a whole nother year of experience, and their success is compounding in the role. So they're speeding up their ability to compound.
And as you guys have seen that over the years, I'll just be honest, I don't feel like our top recruiters, I certainly don't see you guys as some of the leaders in the organization taking your foot off that gas. You've just learned to manage the time and the people differently. Has that been a key component to the success here?
I'd like to hear what you think. I think it evolves.
It definitely evolves.
I think it evolves.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we put a lot of time in, right? And it's just part of we love what we do. Yeah. But I think the more mature and better you get in this industry, you learn to focus your time on more effective projects or initiatives that are going to move the needle. Where that initial recruiter, it might be dials. I got to do 50 dials, and then recruiter B is doing 100 dials. Well, now it's going to be, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm getting coverage on the best 5 recs, and then that maybe we'll do that 10 times as fast as they were, 2 years down the road. So time management, but what you do with your time, and being more efficient with it is critical.
Okay, so I want to I want to step on some key points here that I think could be beneficial, because I know at this point in the podcast we have people that are brand new in the workforce solution, industry and or recruiting. We have people that have been around for, let's call it 5 to 10 years. And then we have some of what I would call your guys' peers within this. In that arena of self-sacrifice, can you give me one thing, Fletcher, that you think is super important in each of those categories? Just getting started off, that mid-level, they've been in it, let's call it 5-7 years, and then somebody who's that 10-year plus. Can you give me just a key takeaway within self-sacrifice? And I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning stages, it's going to be more time and more of a day-to-day grind. I think depending on, everybody career path is gonna evolve if they stay in production or go into leadership.
Yep.
I'll speak on me personally. Being a top performer from just an individual production standpoint and moving into leadership, I completely had to invest way more time into learning how to coach and manage and lead. I don't want to say manage, but lead others and motivate others, because I'm leading people that don't operate how I operate. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge gut check for me, and I had to really evaluate and assess that. I had to put a lot more time in, again, maturing as a leader versus on the production side. I had the production side of it down.
Got it.
Where if I would have stayed there, I would have been, I could have performed at a high level and worked less hours, but choosing to continue to evolve and go into that next level, I basically had to hit the reset button. Mm-hmm. And then from there, even Aaron might be able to shed some more light on this, but as we even grow even higher to the executive level, we have other businesses. I don't know, you can probably talk a little bit on what that looks like, but managing 7 companies, operators of 7 companies, the production, all the P&L associated to it, that's a whole nother layer of time investing into that, where, Aaron's sending out emails at 1 in the morning, right, then at 4 in the morning, and I'm replying back early. It's so it's, if he said, hey, I'm happy with Spark, we're just going to continue to evolve this business and this is it, he wouldn't be having to put those hours in, but that's not how we operate. So as you continue to grow, how you spend your time, and does that answer your question?
I think that's great. You want to add anything on top of that?
Yeah, in that third bucket, in that second bucket, I think he hit the nail on the head. If you're moving into leadership from your own performance, I look at your own performance is very discipline oriented, commitment, discipline, willingness to step into the unknown and keep going at it. Okay, you get those things down, you can rock and roll. Yeah. You move into the leadership of others, and you need to figure out how to do that in a way that is where you're able to get production out of everybody on the team, fit them into the right roles, and then figure out who your top people are, and make sure you're not spending all the time with the worst performers. You do want to work with those people, but your top performers, keep pushing them along to grow.
Yeah, that's good.
We move into that third, bucket, the way I see it, and I hope this continues to evolve, right? Because I feel like I'm still working on this now, and we're still working on this now. But you move into starting to teach other executives and leaders how to do some of that, right? And then for me now, it's a weird thing because we should be problem solvers within the business. And absolutely, that's something that should happen. I'm there to, work through bottlenecks, figure out things that aren't working, communicate the purpose, the mission, and push us down that line. But what you got to watch for, I think, as you keep ascending, you have more other leaders coming to you, is that you don't let them dump all their problems on you, and you're the automatic solve. Like they need to be working on those themselves, coming with solutions. And I just telling Fletcher the other day on the phone, I'm down to solve a problem.
Yeah.
But if someone's coming to me with a problem and they don't want me to solve it, then you're in the wrong room.
Right.
You need to leave.
Yeah.
Because you come to me and we're going to solve it.
Yeah.
So if you're not there yet, maybe you go to your direct, but like I'm gonna solve it.
Right.
So that's another thing too, like not letting people kind of leave their issues with you because it piles up. Especially the bigger the team gets. So that's something we're working on. And at the same time, not in such a way that we're not like empathetic towards others or we're not there to like hear them out. But in a lot of instances, for me or like him, what he's got to watch for now is crossover, where people that are comfortable coming to him,
They step
step over
over
their leader, and then he's potentially undermining the leader. I know that's something for sure that at times I've struggled with and done to him. I've apologized to him on it before. Like it's something I've had to work on. I believe I've got a lot better. We can ask him.
Yeah. Do you guys want to have confession time right now at all? Because we tell you.
But I mean, it has evolved a ton. I mean, we just talked about this the other day, man. It's now it's I push people like everything in our office specifically. Communication is key.
Yeah.
We're not small, but we're not a massive organization yet. So for me, if somebody has frustrations, I'm like, hey, they're sitting right over there. Go ahead, go talk to them instead of letting feelings fester in. And we work through stuff very quick here, which I appreciate. The team that we have, they live the core values. They're humble. They crave improvement. We have direct feedback because they know it's from a good point. We care about them. This isn't coming at them because we're frustrated. It's, hey, this is going to help you develop, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to pause and I want to point something out to each of your listeners. Now we're stacking right now. And what I mean by stacking is we haven't dropped any of the episodes. I'm going to pull it right out and I want to say this, Aaron, because it's really important. 3 things that Fletcher just mentioned, we've done episodes about, and he hasn't even been in the loop on them. And for those of you who are listening, I just want to drive home that authenticity aspect and point out something that we've talked about. This isn't just theory. This is what we do at Spark Companies. We feedback, we communicate, we have those meetings and the tough conversations. And again, I don't want to just be this ADD interruption, but I want to point out the aspect of like, these are the things that legitimately we do here. And I'm trying to change my language a little bit with the we, because I feel humbled to be a part of what's going on here, right? But these are the things that we live in and out. And I'm thankful for that. And I think that's part of the reason that people should not only listen to these podcasts, but keep listening to them, because they are the keys to success.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said, your character, that's what I look at.
Yeah.
Character, or however you define it. If you look at our core values, that encompasses essentially everything I was talking about. We hire based off of our core values. We fire, we promote, everything is based off of our core values.
There's another episode.
Yep, there's another episode we already did.
But that's not by design. That stuff's not up on the wall just because it's on the wall.
Yeah.
We live by that stuff. If we have tough conversations, we say praise. If we do core value awards, if people, and we document that stuff throughout the quarter and we recognize those team members. If somebody isn't aligned with those, we don't, hey, there's the door. No, we bring them in and say, hey, could you have handled the situation differently? And we relate everything to the core value. So it's not by coincidence, because I've actually heard that multiple times where he'll be in a meeting, he'll be doing a training, and then I'll come in and do another training and I'll highlight some stuff. And it was like, Aaron was just talking about this, and him and I haven't even had a conversation about it. It's not by design. This is what we truly believe in, how we should be.
Okay. I don't know if this is going to be your third point, but we're going to do a 2.5 in this because we have the time, and I think it's something that's pulling out of here. So, I just want to talk about consistency for a second. And I don't want to completely, derail the key skill sets and, competencies of recruiters or, being successful in the staffing. But there is something that we've got to draw out. And as the host, my job is to do that. Consistency matters. So we talked about character. We talked about, self-sacrifice. My 2.5 before you get to the third point that you want everybody to hear is, what does consistency have to do? Because there is a consistency that's being kind of bubbled to the surface right now. What does consistency look like within this realm?
I mean, consistency is it. If somebody's consistent, that's what's going to take somebody to the next level faster. I mean, somebody can put in hard work, but if it's not consistent, if you take somebody who puts in hard work 3 days a week and somebody who just is there 5 days a week consistent, that person's going to take off.
Yeah.
How
has consistency played that role for you?
Yeah. So for me, you could ask my wife. She probably doesn't love. I have habits, good habits. I get up early in the morning. I work out. If I don't, my whole day is off. So there's consistency. I do that. I get up at 4:30, 6 days a week now. Drives are crazy, but I still do it because it's who I am. I can spend my family time. Then I can get to work and I can focus my time and energy at work. I don't have to worry about leaving to go work out. I can be dialed in and be present in the moment.
Got it.
So consistency in all areas of my life helps me be more efficient at home, helps me be more efficient when I'm at work than after work with my kids. But yeah, as a recruiter, it's all about fundamentals. You have to get consistent with just our internal policies, how to be a good recruiter in general, KPIs, workflows, all that stuff. Any good athlete, because we related a lot when we first started to athletics. We were looking for athletes. We want to hire athletes because they're consistent. They've been through adversity. You face a lot of that in the staffing world. It's not as physically, demanding, but mentally, it's probably just as much or more taxing because our product is people. We can't control what people do. So you're going to get hit with all kinds of adversity.
Yeah. Aaron, you got anything with that?
Well, you look at anyone that's leading anything. Let's stick with sports. And what are they? They're consistent. They've shown up. They've done it for long, sustained periods of time. Tom Brady, look at like someone on the come up with that, like a Patrick Mahomes, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant. Consistent, disciplined, coming in early, staying late, putting in extra work, doing it not just like one championship and then go party again, push higher, push harder. That's what you got to do within the business world too if you want to be elite, So you can have a good year, you can have a good quarter, you can have a good day or a good week. That's all cool, to do it for the long haul. Like, you're going to have to be committed. You're going to have to be consistent. It's going to not be about your motivation. It's going to be about doing things when you don't want to do them because you know that when you do the right things over a sustained period of time, great things happen.
Yeah. Okay, Fletcher, give us what you think the third key is. They're bonus already.
Yeah, so I had 6, but 3. Okay. No, we'll stop. We'll just do so the last one. I rattled off like 6 in the beginning, but so I'll go to accountability.
Okay.
That translates, internally on the internal team member side and to the client side. You need to be accountable for what you say you're going to do, and if you don't, you need to communicate and over communicate. People that are not accountable, like I want to see somebody who will deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on and in the same timeline. Somebody who can do that is going to do very well.
Yeah.
I like that. I think there's an evolution to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be, accountability to self.
Yep.
And to his point, like kind of an early evolution. So in a recruiting role, like I compared it, I think in another episode to like, when you're on a plane, and I've never had this happen, fortunately, but if the if the things come down, you put your own mask on. You got to take care of
we
yourself.
Almost did.
We almost did. Yeah, oh, man. We were on this private jet going up to the treetops to golf, which neither of us are good golfers. But it was stormy out. We were in this small private jet, and it just a lot of turns.
Just everywhere.
Break in half.
Yeah, it was the worst flight I've ever been on. Wow. By far.
We got a cool picture, though. So accountability, evolution. So self-accountability, like accountability to self.
Yeah.
Okay. Like accountability to the client, accountability to your team, accountability to the mission of the company, accountability to your family or your legacy. These are all different evolutions of that topic, you know, in my opinion. You know, as you get, you know, I don't think, you know, the people to me that come in and they've accomplished nothing yet or very little in the grand scheme of things, and they're talking to me about how mission driven they're, like, I just want to help people. And like, yeah, we all do. We all do. I get it. Like, that's a good, like, I think every human that's a good human wants to help other people. Yeah. But they're going to get gobbled up in agency recruiting if they don't work through the process. That's more of a process. Like, I want to see someone become more purpose, mission. I want to work with them on that, but we're like, that's their biggest motivator as they've accomplished some of these things and they build a track record, and then they start to help others, and it just kind of compounds and compounds and compounds until it really is about to where they're making enough money to where it's really about like, hey, like, look, like, how do I help others do this? How do I help clients do this? Yeah. Like, I'm focused on what's best for the mission, not my personal situation in this placement, or you know, like, but that's an evolution, right? And I think a good place to start is by getting good yourself, by getting compensated well, by then starting by teaching one other person to do that, and then letting that evolve. Like, someone that comes in and is trying to do that on the front end and they've done none of that other stuff, I think they're going to have a hard time, at least in our environment, leading by example. They can't really do it yet in that capacity, but they can find their spots to do it at like earlier stages of that.
Fletcher, where do you see people breaking down in that accountability sector?
Different stages, I think. Recruiting, it's on the delivery side. I think if you come in and they have submittal commitments, right, and revenue commitments that they're supposed to produce on a weekly basis, I don't think in the very early stages, they don't understand the amount of work that goes into it. We talk about self-sacrifice and time that goes into producing that. And for me, I'm very numbers driven. So if it takes me X amount of calls to produce one submittal, like, oh boy, I either better get better at sourcing people, or I got to make 5 times the amount of calls if I want to hit this commitment. So that's one area, I think, in the very beginning stages. As you move up into maybe like the sales or client facing roles, not having consistent communication with their clients and maybe feedback, you know, I think that's an area where people miss that mark, where they are committing to get something back from the client and then they don't. And then what do you do? Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I know you said you rambled off 6. If we talk about skills real quick, from both your standpoints, as you are now, you know, you guys talked, 14 years into this, and I'm going to try and get out of you guys each a different skill. If you were to be developing a skill to grow, like each of these that you guys talked about today, obviously are skills. But if there was one thing, like, let's just call it that you felt like recruiters needed to get comfortable with, they needed to enhance, like, is it how they're writing emails? Is it what they're reading consistently? Is it a better market view? Like,
what is the one skill that you're like, listen, 14, 15 years in, if I was going to tell anybody right now what they need to go after, this is what I'd be like, just dive into this. Now, I'll give an example if you want to think for a second. You know, many of you guys have heard for about 15 years, I spent time in ministry, pastoring, executive pastor, big churches, big organizations. And I would legit tell people, if they were a youth pastor, like, what you need to do is you also need to learn video editing, because that market was growing substantially. Now, thankfully, I did that, and that's why we have Bolt or a reason within it. But that's what I always told people, like, you also need to be working on this, because more and more people are going online, XYZ. In the recruiting world, what would you guys say is that one, let's call it like nugget in the rough or whatever? You're like, just go after it.
A couple of
Okay,
them.
hit it. Come on.
So I'll do
Truth bomb us.
So time management, multitasking, and numbers. Those are three things that if we could get those up to speed. I mean, numbers intensifies. It comes to negotiating contracts, negotiating offers, understanding margins and what type of flexibility we have. Because our job, as Aaron said, as problem solvers, it's not always a yes or no. We want to figure out how we can provide value while still making it, have it make sense on the back end. Yeah. On the recruiting side, they're negotiating comp, which they have to factor in benefits, time off, getting, people at a higher level from that standpoint. And then time management all around, being prepared for your day, focusing your energy on stuff that's going to move the needle versus not engaging in detracting conversations, prepping for the next day. Those are, I guess, you just asked for one. Those are three.
That's awesome. Aaron?
Getting really good at asking questions.
I love that.
If I had to give you one, if I go kind of counterintuitive to like what's changed in the last, 15 years in recruiting, there's so many tools and technologies and all that stuff, and like we embrace them. We have a lot of them, and they should use them. I would suggest that a recruiter get good at the inefficient stuff also. Meaning being in front of people face to face. Got it. Walking in, and seeing somebody, being on the phone with them, writing them a handwritten note, building a relationship, because when you do inefficient things, it stands out.
Yeah. That's good.
And so I'm not saying you don't use those tools, but understand what we do is build relationships with people. We're building trust with them. They're making life-changing decisions with us. And it's one of the best tools you have to fight against being replaced by technology too, is the art of what we do. Yeah. So I'm not saying that you don't use that stuff at all, but I'm saying don't throw out the stuff, even if, that's inefficient. Yeah, but is it making you different?
Right. Yeah, it's like, has it, lost its, the luster in it. Those are the things that bring that back in. And they're the consistencies.
You want to stand out to people, do those things I mentioned.
Yeah, that's good.
You'll be memorable to them.
Wow.
Yeah. Even with the recruiter training we just went over, if you don't practice those things, you start to lose your skills on how to actually source and find talent. That's right. Correct. It's you can easily rely on job posts and Indeed and have applicants funnel to you, but what do you do when that pool runs dry? Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, do I just throw more spend and try to get more people? No, we didn't have any of those tools when we first.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I love hearing you guys talk about that in like the background. Like, we didn't have any of this stuff. We had to grind like this and this and this. But what I've loved also seeing with that is the adaptability within that. And that's exactly what, both of you are hitting on right now. It's like, you've got to have the tools, you've got to have the consistency, you've got to have the time management, you've got to have the people skills. And when you put those together, that's where you win and succeed. And I think that's not only what you guys are teaching people here at Spark Companies, but it's what you want to consistently share. I see the proposals that are going out. I see the conversations. I hear the coaching that, Fletcher, you're giving to some of the newer recruiters as you guys are, bringing them up in the ways of, what's happened. And that's just been awesome to see. Okay, I'm going to end today with the last thing, because we're almost over time for what we want to be targeting here in Spark Companies podcast. But you're going to wrap this up, Fletcher. What are you wrapping up? If you want to be a successful recruiter, if you want to be successful in staffing, what do you want to leave people with? Because you're our first guest, and I know that would make Aaron completely humbled and proud to let you close this bad boy out.
I think you got to be loyal and committed. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. In this industry, success does not happen overnight. Yeah, you go through a lot of failure before you get rewarded, and there's a reason why this industry is a high turnover industry. It's hard. It is very, very hard. But if you look at the people that stick with it and grow, those people are doing exceptionally well within our own team, within our competitors, within other staffing industries. Consistency and being loyal and continue to self-develop along the way. That's the key.
Yeah, that's the key. Well, Fletcher, it's been great having you on. I feel humbled to be sitting next to you here today, both as a coworker, friend, growing in that relationship. And I know, just as I started with, Aaron speaks volumes of you. And for each of you who are watching or listening today, you can reach out to Fletcher. We'll put some of his social handles down in the notes. He would love to help in any ways. And maybe as you're adding to the conversation here with what we're doing at Spark Companies, we'd love to hear from you what you feel like makes somebody successful in the staffing and recruiting industry. As always, Aaron, thanks for adding your wisdom, your insight within this. And we have some exciting stuff that we hope to share here in the future. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, you share it. Go ahead, leave us a comment, a review. That'll help grow this channel over the time that we're continuing to produce it. And we just want to thank you. If you need more information, you can head over to Spark Companies and learn more about everything that's happening. And we would love to connect with you. We hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you soon.